Okay, we got episode, I think 45, Sam, Analysts Gone Wild. We got Alex, who's joining us, who's a new person, but welcome everybody. We are here on a great day today to have fun. What is it, Thursday today? We go Friday, Thursday. We change it up periodically, right, Sam?
Just once a year, generally, depending upon the mood, I guess.
Yeah. We call this Junior Friday, right? So we're
Junior Friday.
Not there, but Robert Kramer with more insights and strategy. I tackle enterprise data. We talk about ERP, SCM, and anything that Sam wants to talk about, plus a little change management and how we can help the customers out. So we have a good amount of topics today. We got some great people here. Let's start with our new guy on the block here. Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself. You work with Charles, right, Brennan?
Yes. So
I just saw him.
Research, similar focus in terms of financial customer ad hoc research. My primary coverage here, I am the principal analyst for analytics and data management coverage, and have been in the role for the past 4 years. Hopefully I'll provide a good level of insight and a different spin than some of your main focus.
Great. Thank you. How about you, Ken? Tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world.
Well, 2026 is starting off with a bang. And so my name is Ken Gonzalez, otherwise known as Ken Gunn. So please feel free to call me that. I'm providing coverage on CIO topics, infrastructure and operations, software development, and AI. So I've got a lot of irons in the fire.
So how did you decide to come up with Ken Gunn? I understand Ken and Gonzalez, but why do you like that?
Well, the 30-second thing is that one of the first commercial companies that I actually worked for had an email policy where they take the first 3 letters of your first name and last name and mushed them together. This was back when we were still doing character email, and it just kind of stuck. We were calling each other by our email handles around the office, and the thing I came to the conclusion was, how many Ken Guns do you know? Well, probably one, and that's me. So I've just done it, and it's been good.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. And Thomas.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Thomas Liebernight. I am the principal analyst of Ad CRM. And as you can guess by that name, I'm covering CRM-ish topics along with what's around it, like boring things like AI.
Are you in, are you fully moved and all good?
All good. Yeah. I'm not sailing enough.
Well, we all need to retire like Sam's about to. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Sam.
Yeah, and I guess, you missed the story in Forbes about 100 names to know in 2026, and the top one was Ken Gunn. And Robert is not Robert. Thomas is. Robert. I'm always talking about Robert. I'm giving you trade secrets, Alex. If you want to impress Robert, you have to throw in some change management with whatever you say. These are the trade secrets for this show. And Thomas, I guess. Now I don't know. I'm not seeing ERP there, man. You are talking a lot ERP these days on LinkedIn. So is it going to be ahead ERP, or are we going to have some flavor? No, zero? Or CRM is the new ERP, or nothing?
Some ERP vendors are wisening up to include CRM in their irrelevant ERP stuff.
All right, guys, back to me. Sam Gupta, principal here at Elevate IQ, and host of the WBS Talks. Over to you, Robert.
Great. Well, there is a lot going on in ERP, and I think it's kind of coming back to that where there's a lot of companies looking at it because there's a lot of change going on. So hopefully we'll talk about that a little bit, but not change management, but change. But I just came from Acumonica's event, and they really focused on the customer, which is a big deal because a lot of companies talk only about the product and the releases, and they talked a lot about the customer and what the customer journey looks like to get to where they're at. I think that's an important component in change management but data is a big deal. And I met with a lot of customers, and I think the data is not as far along as a lot of people think it is, and it's going to affect them long term if they're going to be able to use some of the things that we talk about all the time. But let's go into the first subject. We have Sage adds Copilot to their operations suite. What do we think about this? I mean, everybody, Sage is a mid-level ERP company, and I think that Copilot is obviously a great component for them. It strengthens their position a little bit. Sam, when we talk about Sage a lot, I don't know if they're at the same innovative level as some of their competitors, but you're probably a little closer to them than I might be. But I think that this is something that was necessary for them and adds some additional improvements. But what do we all think? Ken, why don't you start?
So the thing I have to say is anytime I hear the word Copilot, I immediately get a little bit deflated.
What should it be called then? I mean, because you want to say AI assistant, do you want to say, I mean, what's the purpose in the end for the Copilot being in there? Maybe what's the outcome? Is it an event-driven system? Is it capabilities to handle manual tasks, or is it just to see what Ken's doing today?
Well, I think that really gets down to the crux of the issue here. People use Copilot as a marketing tool to be able, I know what Copilot is. But really, when you get right down to it, we're still talking about organizations that are using AI from a proprietary perspective. How can I take and enhance my product, as opposed to being able to open up to a wider range of looking at how agents could be useful in the context of being able to solve customer challenges, which does not necessarily mean that you're going to overhaul your tool or provide you new instrumentation or mechanisms for being able to engage that are purely focused on your tool. So I think from my perspective, any vendor that's continuing down this tack is, they're still playing a 2024, 2025 game when we really need to be looking farther ahead.
Shouldn't they be talking a little bit about, here's Copilot, this is how it benefits you as a customer, here's where you're at from a readiness perspective, from an innovation perspective, this is what it's going to do for you if you're going to use it, versus more from a marketing end?
I believe that is the case. And okay. I think that from a practical perspective, that when somebody talks about they're building a Copilot, they're talking about their readiness as opposed to the level of readiness that their customers experiencing or what they're trying to help them get to.
That's the disconnect. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I think that you have a good assertion there. We need to focus more on the jobs to be done here. And I'd be very interested what roles, what tasks this is really targeting within operations that sort of gets subsumed by the Copilot naming that it has there. There's a lot of interesting stuff beneath the surface. They've trained their own LLM in order to do this rather than relying on a proprietary model. And certainly that implies that there would be benefits for working with Sage's data and working with that customer data. But in all of my experiences talking with customers, there's a lot in terms of getting to that value point, whether it's getting your data ready, getting the definitions ready for what the LLM should be considering, or even identifying and working through the change management, as you might have mentioned earlier.
Well, the goal is, I always think you have to, what does the customer need to hear and what features do they need? Work your way backwards, market that way instead of, I have all these great features and capabilities. How do you know if the customer wants them or not? Show how they're going to be used versus what you, like you mentioned a good point, what the vendor wants to do with them. It's the opposite. But what do you think, Thomas?
Well, me too. This is what my first thought was. So me too, and quite late in the game. So yeah, when reading that, there is a kind of substantial buzzword usage. Whereas there are some words actually. They're basically saying, hey, we are doing what the other ones are doing as well. There is not much of actual customer benefit wording in the whole thing. If I were to deeper interpret this announcement, I just say so they rebranded their automation,
I mean,
their analytics.
Wouldn't you want to take it a step further, Sam, and say, hey, we have this, but we're going to show you how it's used. We're going to use buzzwords, but the meaningful buzzwords like Industry 5.0, and explain how this is going to help with the collaboration of humans and robots. Here's the key issue. Here's the key areas. But this seems a little dated. But Sam, why don't you tie it together?
Yeah. So from my perspective, I guess I always like to look at the intent a lot more than what it is being called. So I might be with Ken a little bit on this. But Sage might be a little late, I guess, overall, not in terms of the innovation. And I don't know if Sage is going to agree with your comment, Robert, that they are not as innovative. As far as my understanding goes of their product organization, they are working very hard and they are innovating and acquiring a lot as well. Now, when it comes to Copilot, I guess the whole nightmare started because Salesforce started calling out Copilot that this is probably, I don't want to use word fake, which is my favorite word. Everybody knows that, but that's probably not a real AI is what they started calling. And that's when everybody started, oh, maybe it is not. Maybe Copilot may not be as cool as what everybody wants. So now from my perspective, I think Copilot is great. Okay. I think that adds very tangible value for the users, and from the ERP workflow perspective, that's the real value. Now, are you going to have some sort of agentic workflows? That's a different workflow. Are you going to call your agents copilots? Probably not. Okay. So everything has a role to play. Copilots have a role to play. Agents have a role to play. Is ERP really customer facing? Thomas may not agree with that. So it is going to be really user facing, internal facing, workflows, and users are as important as customers in my mind.
Well, the transactional data is focused.
Trickle down to the CRM. Just to challenge you, Sam, then call it as it is. It's workflow automation, period. Just a fancy name for workflow automation.
Well, okay. So, I mean, let's say workflow automation as a category, I would put ServiceNow into that category. So is ServiceNow comparable with a Copilot? Probably that's not as fair to ServiceNow, I would say. But now they are saying that they are the best AI in the world. So I don't know, who's best.
This seems to me like it doesn't represent a need for an announcement. This isn't that exciting to me. What's exciting is what you're going to do with it and show us the end result, the business impact. This doesn't show any business impact. It just shows they have it. I want to see how it helps the customer and show me how it helps the customer. The customer doesn't. This is nothing about the customer.
It doesn't even show they have it. It only shows they claim it.
Yeah. The customer, I will tell you, in going to all these events, the customer is not terribly excited about where a lot of these vendors are going because they don't know how it's going to affect them. They just see the high level. I have these products. You can go dance with it. Well, what am I going to do with it? How does it affect my business? How does it affect my industry? How does it affect where I'm at from a readiness perspective? This has nothing to do with that. If you own a manufacturing company, Sam, how you walk in there, half your data's okay. How is this going to affect you? Show me how it's going to affect you. Do an assessment for me and show me where I'm at, what this does for me, why I'm going to benefit from this. Because I might, as an owner, leave a vendor at a certain point if I don't feel like I'm rewarded enough.
There's a little bit of purpose, let's say, in there. It's about teams can identify potential delays and bottlenecks a bit earlier. Nice. So what is that? Now I'm back to my process automation or workflow automation. This is analytics and anomaly detection.
You said a really good word there.
Which is there for ever. Well, at least for the past 10 years. So there's nothing new in here.
That was my takeaway reading through this.
What I claim here is that they are just rebranding what they have.
It does seem like they're using this as an extension of the workflow triggers that they had before, maybe as a way to describe certain events and potentially make things easier for the operations teams. But to your point, until you can really specify what is the job to be done, and importantly as well, one area that I hear talking to customers is what is the cost? What is the price point for using this service as well? Until you can answer both of those questions, it's pretty hard to have a business case and to have adoption. We have spoken to customers who've used different Copilots and they see productivity gains, but they answer those questions first. They know how much it's going to cost and they know what that job is to be done, where they're spending too much time and where it can automate.
But this also, Alex, plays a role in your space with the data. The data has to be significantly at a level to be used, so the outcomes are what you're talking about. When you talk to your customers or customers at all, do you think the norm is for the data to be at a level of execution or something like this, or do you think there's strategic efforts on their end?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And we're certainly, I would say, pretty far away from the automation element where it's creating action and execution. But to bring this back to analytics, one of the biggest changes that LLMs have provided is the delivery of analytics. So we're seeing reports change from the standard dashboards and visualizations to things that people can have on their phone, things that people can interact with more freely. And I assume that Sage's Copilot here is going to have a similar effect, where it's a change in how people interact with the data, with the operations data, and maybe you could make some better informed decisions based on that, respond faster. But I don't think that there's a fundamental change necessarily in the execution or that this is going to be fully automated anytime soon with the current capabilities.
Hence the co and not pilot.
Well said.
Yeah.
Sam, anything you want to add?
Let's move to the next one, I guess. I mean, we all agreed that the story is probably not as substantial. So Akeneo accelerates commerce velocity. So who is this company? They're a product information management company, and they have tools that help brands and retailers manage their product data across channels. And I'm not sure, Alex, if you've come across this company or not. They have a release. This announcement is about emphasizing more of an agentic AI to speed up some of the content creation enrichment, which I think is probably a pretty good thing. It can help, obviously, with that overall experience. I think this is probably a pretty positive situation. One of the things, like we always talk about, is the customers. What does it do for them? I think it gets a little bit more from them being onboarded, from understanding some of the SKUs that they're using, and localization, I think, is another key, and channel specific optimization are some of the things that I saw. But it helps them with direct merchandising and productivity and I think it's an all around win. But Alex, what do you know about these guys?
Yeah, they're a very interesting company serving the areas that they do, mainly distribution, warehousing, retail, just in terms of organizations with a lot of different products. But this is a natural fit for MCP, where you're trying to get all of the data that you have proprietary, and you're trying to surface this to LLMs in a given interaction. I've had a lot of questions myself about what the UI of AI is going to look like in 2 or 3 years. Are we going to still be working within all of these platforms, or are we going to be in a more MCP-driven environment where we're working in a OpenAI interface, Anthropic interface, and something of that sort? So I think that this is very much laying the groundwork for that potential future if you are interacting within those platforms and you're trying to get your product information. As a user, you're going to interact with that. The one that was more interesting and maybe hidden in this announcement was the Stripe agentic commerce integration there, and Stripe's agentic commerce protocol that they're supporting. Of course, we're still in the early days of seeing agentic buying, but clearly that makes a lot of sense with these big product catalogs that you have here in terms of giving AI the information on what pricing is, what quantity is, and potentially being able to drive some increase in sales there. So for right now, I see this certainly as just maybe a productivity gain, probably not much. potentially ways to increase revenue if that story around agentic purchasing takes off.
So moves it more to a system of action, I guess, a little bit, would you say?
That's certainly what Stripe's going for when they're trying to build out this network here. Is I don't know personally how many companies are going to be making their purchasing decisions via AI, or whether it's going to just be using more of the surfacing information, CMCP. Hey, how much of this product do they have? What is their price for it? Compare it to others. But I do think it's all steps towards that vision.
Ken, what do you think?
As I looked at this, the thing that stood out in my mind was a bit of a question, which is, are we actually just introducing more digital friction? Because in a certain sense, it looks as though, oh, well, we're opening things up, we're making more capabilities available with an eye towards increasing velocity, like being able to have customers execute transactions quicker or get the right information to people, and all that sounds really good. But is that really the blocker that is keeping people from purchasing or getting the information that they need in order to be able to engage
speeds
with
it
a
up a
vendor
little bit,
or
I think.
something?
It makes it more efficient in speed. I don't think it blocks. What, I don't know, Alex, is that your perspective, or what do you think?
Yeah, I would certainly view it that way. It's, how restrictive is the current GUI interface in terms of getting this data? Are there reports in the manner that you're looking for, versus with AI, if you could just query that information and get it easier, you have a better path. But of course, AI is not perfect either, and we have to make sure that people actually trust these. A lot of customers that I talk to, until they really get that wheel rolling, they've had this in practice, they don't really trust a lot of the output. So I think that we will come back to change management here again. Are people ready to abandon the way that they're working with these platforms?
Sam, did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard, and I have a plug for you. I think system of action, rather than calling that, they should be calling system for change. That's much cooler.
I think, it's branded. What do you think, Thomas?
Let's put it a slightly different spin on that. So I actually think, from the limited knowledge of that company, I position them as a PIM player, product information management. Now, looking at what they are announcing here, this is a repositioning of the company, or at least quite an extension of their portfolio into a buzzword again, agentic commerce. So basically into the commerce side of the house. So that opens up friction on that for them, a couple of possibilities. Whether this is a bet that will have its return or not, that remains to be seen. But from my perspective, they are getting into commerce infrastructure with this move. Well, now we can add all sorts of AI buzzwords that they actually use. This is, by the way, one of the announcements that has a significantly higher density of buzzwords than Sage. But this is something that is basically a bet on the future.
You know what? Not to give Sam a hard time, but like the agents, like all these companies. I'm going to then. Like, okay, we know you all need to add agents. Fine. Show me what it does for the customer. Let's work backwards and show the customer stories and how they implement it, and how it transformed their business. All these companies are adding agents. We got it. But like, is that a big deal? No, it's standard right now because that's the protocol. But like, what do companies need to do to execute? And I think that's the direction, because these stories are all about, they added, this or that, this platform, but what are the customers doing? Because there's no stories, Alex, like you said, and Ken and Thomas, that we don't know if it's going to ROI, and is the customer, do these I'll leave it this way. The vendors need to do this to keep going, to survive and advance through this layer we're talking about.
Bet on the future.
Yeah. Sam, you can give me a hard time now.
Yeah, I like the story in the company, and not because of what they are doing, but because they are named after Ken. Okay, that's why I like them.
Didn't you handpick this one? You told me.
Yeah, and honestly speaking, I mean, the reason why I handpicked them because they have MCP in there, and if any company does not have that, they are going to disappear from Analysts Gone Wild coverage. And again, I don't have authority, and it's not because Robert is giving me a hard time. It's just that they
I
are
got
not
the
gonna
makeup
make
to do. That's what's going on.
Okay,
Isn't
now-
MCP another word for API?
Yeah,
these days?
coming back to the story. So I think Thomas nailed this one, to be completely honest, in terms of the positioning. They are really, the product information management is the right category for them. When you look at product information management, and you are going to love this, Robert, okay? They could be slightly more ERP of the e-commerce world, okay? Just a junior ERP, not the real ERP, junior marketing side of ERP, so that's their core positioning. Now, I'm a little confused overall with this comment that, okay, I'm going to become very customer focused. And again, I'll go back to my comment. Is ERP really customer focused? We are going to do a little live selling, going to do a little collaboration. Okay, but that's what your supervisors are doing. And when I say supervisors, that's going to be your upstream platforms, which would mean
ERP is
something like Shopify.
ERP is customer related because all the transactional data that's put together there has a downstream effect to the customer in a significant way. So it interrelates, but it's not frontline.
Exactly. I mean, you have to go through a lot of hoops to get to ERP, I guess, right? So,
well, if your ERP is not in a good state, nothing else will be. It's the heart of the business. So all these other ancillary applications feed off of it. And if your data is not in a sound state from ERP, all this other stuff, I think you'll see major holes and problems.
Yeah, I mean, that's the state of the business in 2026. That's how pretty much everybody is. So I don't know what to do about it. Change management, Robert.
I could talk about it, but I'll leave it alone.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to go to the next one?
Sure.
Okay.
So Cordial releases, again, AI agents for marketers. So this is a cross-channel marketing and messaging platform that's focused on email and SMSs and personalization of brands. I think personalization is a big deal in today's world. I think that's what we all hope to get to. It does obviously have that benefit to the customer, but these new AI agents are meant to be assistants to bring your AI into the work and not just the workflows, Thomas. So as we talk about this, is this a differentiator for the vendor or the customer? I think it probably does help marketing. Marketing has come a long way in the world that I do think that agents have substantially helped them out because it was all a grind. And I think the business impact is, to get to autonomous, handling of this. And I think it's a potential good thing. So, Thomas, this is probably a little bit in your backyard. What do you think?
What I do think is that they are, well, they are bolder than Sage by saying agent and not Copilot. But when I read through some of those claims, automate real marketing work and not just workflow. Yeah, what is it besides process and workflow? Yeah? Give marketers real agency. What the heck? Yeah, so I mean, yes, it's nice that they are making life easier for marketers, but I don't really see the value, honestly. I don't know, for the price tag. So I mean, this is, I don't want to be too unfair here. This is a cry for attention without having proven anything.
Ken, what do you think?
I'm with Thomas.
Thanks.
I don't have anything else to say about it. It would be duplicative.
You guys are tough. Hey, what do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I think that at least the first agent, the email production agent that they discuss here, that has some very clear value for marketers as they're drafting, personalizing, and potentially getting more of a uplift from that personalization. I'm a little bit less sure about the data intelligence agent. Maybe that's just based on where I operate myself and my coverage. But the current state for marketers is pretty complex when it comes to evaluating campaigns. You look at metrics like open rates, you look at click-through, and then importantly, you A/B test between sessions. And so until you can really provide how this agent is going to reconfigure that entire process, they mention about looking at different KPIs, looking at intent. They don't say much about experimentation or about evaluation. I'd be very interested in how that actually changes the workflow. And because for me, it's not entirely clear how that delivers value, I don't expect it to get as much of an adoption.
Well, this company is focused on helping the buyer's journey, right? And so show us how this makes that buyer's journey more productive. And this is not, I don't see that anywhere in this. And because that's what it's all about. Nobody wants to hear us talk about the salespeople don't close the deal. The information that the customer gets from the buyer's journey. So how does this help with that, all that messaging and that segmentation and that delivery? I'm assuming this would, Sam, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is interesting, and I would probably be with Alex on this one. I can see some value when I read their positioning, and I'm not too familiar with this company. They are saying that they are leader in messaging, so I don't know what that means in the world of ChatGPT. I guess this is where you probably require a lot more LLM capabilities, and if you simply go by what they are talking about from the personalization audience logic. I don't know if their core positioning is going to be, what is that called, DXP, I guess, Thomas, DXP, optimizely, what is that
digital
category?
Experience platform.
Yeah.
So if you want to go that far, they are a marketing platform basically.
Yeah, but I mean, the way they are coming across, it almost feels like as if they are more of the marketing project management. So I don't know if they would be competing with Salesforce on this one, because Salesforce is trying to do a lot of that. But I think they are more into the real personalization play, which would be slightly more vertical slice of DXP. I'm actually missing the term in that world.
Marketing execution. So the DXP is one of those terms that gets heavily overused, and I mean half of CMSs become DXPs these days. So it's just not defined.
Yeah, DXP is just the ERP of the CMS world, I would say. Just packages
Maybe,
a lot more.
Maybe.
Yeah. So I mean, on this one, it's very hard to assess that purely based on the story. To be completely honest, but I can see some value based on what they are doing.
Okay.
Next one.
All right. Any other comments? If not, we can go to the next one.
No. Well, they provided value before. Now they are just doing it differently. That's basically it.
So Flip is a AI providing that automates AI provider that automates customer service phone calls, and for brands in healthcare and transportation, e-commerce, retail, all those type of things like Under Armour and other ones. This is actually a pretty good topic, because I think that how do we develop this area where it's more successful, where we don't hang up the phone for automated customer service phone calls. And I think it's a real area for efficiency, the more dynamic and expansive it gets, and to be more specific and deeper in technology for the customer service areas. But 20 million doesn't sound like a lot to me. So what do you all think? I'll start with Alex.
Yeah, I don't have too much to comment on for this here. I agree that it's pretty early in their in their lifetime here, just with the Series A. I think that in general, vertical AI is a very interesting discussion and how that's going to evolve with time, especially when you consider it relative to people who are able to spin up more of these individual agents. You could train your own 11 labs type of call interaction model. So maybe some sort of horizontal orchestrator might work better than these very tailored vertical specific LLMs. With that being said, certainly in the areas that they focus on and the customers that they have, the sales processes, the support processes where you would call people are not consistent with a lot of other industries. Mm-hmm. I think they have some role, but I would be very interested in terms of just the horizontal AI agents, if they're able to outpace this in some horizontal layer of support and service is able to take over their business.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Ken, what do you think?
This is something I would actually be watching because I like the idea of vertical orientation. I think that the shift from just thinking about large language models to other ways of using AI technology on a more focused manner, whether that's using your proprietary data or leveraging the proprietary data of other firms that can actually help you with whatever type of engagement you want to have with your customer community. I think that's a very interesting direction, and I think really indicative of where we should be looking at through 2026 and beyond. So I'm optimistic.
Okay.
I'd like to hear more.
I think they are refreshing, I'd say, because they are playing in a very interesting field. They are playing an uphill battle. I mean, there are players like Zendesk in there as well. Industry specifics is becoming more and more important right now. Yep. Industry-specific models tend to be more accurate than, well, horizontal models. Like, well, we have industry-specific processes as well because they are fitting more into the industry because they are better for that industry.
Sure.
So that makes it quite interesting. They are also giving a proof point, whether we think 300 million calls is a very big number or not. But, well, for a startup, it is sizable, and they are certainly, from my perspective, refreshing that part of the industry, I'd say. So, as Ken Gon said, something to look at.
Yep, I agree.
To look at.
Sam, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, this is very interesting from my perspective. And I personally love AI agents, to be completely honest, whenever I go for any sort of customer service interactions, because they answer my questions. I like it.
Well, it depends how sophisticated they are. That's the whole point.
And that's why the vertical AI specialization is going to be super handy. So the ones I may have interacted with, maybe they have some vertical specialization. But even that may not be enough.
That's because you live in Toronto.
Exactly. And if the agent is going to be from Toronto and if they are going to be a Blue Jays fan, then obviously I'm going to love them. You know this, right? But
what's the name of that football team you got? Was it the Canadian League? What's the Toronto what?
Oh, yeah, CFL.
No,
that's so popular that nobody knows about it.
Didn't Warren Moon play there, or where did he play? Or is that Doug Flutie, or one of those guys played up in Toronto?
Yeah, they might be into vertical AI a little bit, right? I mean, just because they are so innovative, nobody knows about them, Robert.
Okay. Okay, continue. Sorry.
Okay, so vertical AI, is a great idea. But again, I guess, I mean, from the interaction perspective, when you look at the tailored experiences, when you look at the customer service interactions, you want to make this as tailored, as calibrated experience as possible. The reason why I like this company is, look at those logos, man. It's massive. I don't know where they got them, and I would think that I don't know who they are competing with. And obviously, Zendesk is pouring a lot of money in this particular space. Ken, I know that this is your space overall from the customer service perspective. So there are a lot of companies that are pouring money. I don't know whether they are going to be horizontal, vertical, but this is good. I really like it.
Okay. Let's continue on. We got a little Salesforce going on here, and we can get Thomas to talk a little bit more maybe. But Salesforce reveals details on Slackbot. They're basically, in a sense, connecting Slack conversations, correct me if I'm wrong, Thomas, with files, with Salesforce data. And this should help users prepare and use and connect everything in the system a little bit better. That's if that customer has all this information in there and it's correct. So I don't think this is anything negative. I don't know the outcomes yet because of the fact that it's I don't think it's fully established down the road enough. But what do you think? I think you probably have a lot to say, Alex, because you data and Salesforce. And I think the overall success of Salesforce is in the eye of the beholder, meaning does the customer have the right data in there? I used to work for a large transformation company in Europe, and we had SAP and Salesforce, and people come to my office are like, "Why does Salesforce suck?" I said, "Well, I don't think it does. I think it's a great product, but where do you think the data comes from?" And they have like no idea because we were migrating. It was connected to SAP, and the data really stems, from the SAP data. So it is frontline in a sense, Sam, because it's coming from there. That data is just such a big source of everything for these companies. So does this work, Alex? What they're saying?
Yeah, this was one of the announcements that I was the most interested reading through here, because to your point, Salesforce has a ton of data. They have a ton of customers. But I think that this Slack acquisition is really going to save the company in the age of AI here. If you have all of these questions about software being the interface, typically these chats are the UI where people go to collaborate, they go to get data, they go as their first stop rather than pulling up a portal. And incorporating more Salesforce information, incorporating the use of these other AI models where you can ask questions within Slack and get data through an MCP of another service, really just puts together the vision of how people ideally, I think, are going to end up working across different pieces of software. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say what Salesforce said, that it's the front door of the agentic enterprise, but I don't think that it's far off from a vision standpoint there. Certainly in analytics, what we've seen so far is that reports, that visualizations have moved a lot to these messaging services, particularly Slack, as people look to communicate. And I've also heard some use cases about using Slack as the information source too. If you're an executive, you can see what are the conversations happening within your company, what are teams talking about, where is innovation going. That is very valuable from a higher level perspective. I mean, to actually see what's going on within the organization and provide some level of unification.
Yeah. Ken, what do you think?
I find this actually quite encouraging. When I look at organizations like Salesforce and the Slack acquisition and the other large tool sets that these organizations are bringing into themselves, case in point for me is ServiceNow. They go out and they acquire a lot of technology, right? And they integrate it so that it becomes part of the platform, so that all the applications that run on it end up benefiting from the acquisition. And for me, this particular release is not, I'm not necessarily excited about the specifics of the release, but I think that the closer Salesforce gets to actually being able to take and embed the capability inside of the broader product suite, so that any application that runs on the platform will be able to start to take advantage of that capability. That, for me, I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, Thomas, I think you probably got a few comments here. What do you think?
This is real enterprise power play. And why? Because in contrast to what Alex just said, front door to the agentic enterprise is exactly the key point here. There are two places where you can, as an enterprise vendor, really fend off competition right now at this point in time. One is becoming the bouncer, and this is the gateway to the applications, as the application frame itself becomes less and less interesting to the users. They are active anywhere for example, in their communication tools, which more and more becomes Slack, Teams, and probably Google Chat. Yeah? So he or she who dominates that gateway becomes the bouncer of the party, the bouncer to the disco, basically, or the club. Yeah? That gives an incredible leverage about and against any other enterprise vendors in terms of orchestration of processes, not only of knowledge. Access of knowledge is one part, an important part, but it's not only that, it's the orchestration of processes. The other lever would be where ServiceNow comes from, the workflow automation, yeah, or the process automation. So this is an incredibly strong position that they are taking here, apart from all the Salesforce buzzword density, which is, I think, the highest in the 10 or 11 documents we have here. So, but again, so this is real serious enterprise play there. So this is play for dominance, and that makes it so exciting here.
Great. I'm excited that Thomas actually managed to work bouncers and disco into one sentence. So
well, what did they have there at discos? Did you always get in? No, there was one of these burly guys there that said your girlfriend can get in, but you not, right?
So Thomas, if you cannot get in, I don't know about me then.
Well, maybe both of us have been too nerdy.
So, Sam, what do you got?
Yeah, so I guess if you go back in time, 4 years back, review my commentary related to Salesforce and its acquisition related to Slack, some people might say that I already have a nickname called SACO. And SACO stands for, if you guys are not familiar with, Sam always chickens out. Okay, so in this particular case, I think I had called out Salesforce a little bit on this acquisition. I could not see how they were going to make money. I could see value in MuleSoft. But if I look at the power of this one, to be completely honest, if you look at any of the Salesforce organizations, they literally live into that community-driven experience. And that community-driven experience is so powerful. What they are doing is they are literally inviting their customers to live on these communities as well. And they are probably going to have similar data information. Your partners are hanging out with very similar community experience. You have some guardrails. Salesforce generally is not as worried about guardrails. They are more worried about opening up as much as possible, bringing everybody to the same party without any bouncers, if possible. So that's where I see the real power. And this is where I guess the whole marketing project management, you don't necessarily need to use UI, for this. One of the problem in the sales ecosystem and CRM ecosystem, and Robert, you are going to love this, was change management. Okay.
Got quite the change management density in this episode.
Exactly. I mean, we want to make sure we are doing at least 500 to please Robert. Otherwise, I don't think we are hosting that show anymore.
Yeah, you got it.
We are maintaining the count. We are at 480 right now. 20 more to go.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. I can see the real power. I think this is where the market is going to go. Everybody is going to launch some sort of bot, but I don't know if they want to call it a bot. I don't think that's fair to the capabilities. So that would be my take, but this is fascinating.
Okay, good. Coming back to you, Alex, I mean, everybody kind of give their feedback. Anything else you want to add? I know this is probably in the beginning stages of moving it forward, but what do you think? Anything you want to add?
Sure. I mean, my big takeaway is just it's impressive how much proprietary data a system like Slack has.
Yeah.
And really connecting that to AI has a lot of value for both Salesforce, of course, but when you look at the way that organizations are actually run, having data on the day-to-day operations and on the collaboration is certainly underserved. Even if you look at the model providers, it's a lot about individual personalization, individual workflows. When you can bridge that to more of an organizational level, which Salesforce is trying to do with its vision with Slack here, I think that offers a degree of uniqueness that certainly other vendors don't have.
Peel that onion back just a minute, but how's the data though? Because my take is when you look at these companies that have had Salesforce for a while, connected to large enterprise systems, the data in Salesforce has been suspect, not because of the application, but because of the companies. And we've all been in that situation where every salesperson adds something different in there. The fields aren't governed. The data in the enterprise system isn't at the level it needs to be. So if you take that and you put that into the motion that's going on here, what do we have to do to overcome this to make it more successful?
Yeah, I think that Salesforce has its own data cloud problem that it's working through. I think that the Informatica acquisition is very indicative of that.
Good point.
But I do believe that from a Slack perspective, they're going to be a nicer bouncer, to use your metaphor there. I think that they understand that this is all about bringing in information. So whether it's from Salesforce or a separate ERP system, or even integrating with these other models as they become better in their own regards. So I do think that they're separate. I think that Salesforce has certainly a good amount of work to do with its current way that it integrates with Slack and presents that data through an agent. But the vision is broader than that and incorporates more elements.
Let me clarify a little on my bouncer analogy. So this was not towards the user, but the other vendors. The capability, the main weakness, so to say, that Salesforce has is that they are, it's in their ticker, CRM. Yeah, they are doing customer-facing processes. The vast majority of action happens in ERP-ish application, including supply chain. Yeah, and what's not customer-facing. Yeah? So if you control the interface to that, if you control the governance of the data, if you control the governance of the processes, like Slack and the Slackbot are trying to do, then this puts you into an incredibly strong position against those vendors who have access and control of the data and processes that's behind. Because all of a sudden, these companies need to play as Salesforce rules, not their rules anymore. So this is what makes this so incredibly strong.
Agreed. Sam, we got time for one more. You want to?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right, let's go. We'll do this one a little quickly. Treasure Data launches marketing super agent. That's a kind of interesting terminology. What does that really mean? So I guess it's saying that the agent is more dynamic, that it does a little bit more than the normal agent because it's super. But it supposedly stretches across research, strategy, creative execution, and optimization, where some of their competitors might stop at a certain point and not go as far. I think this enhances the platform itself and the customer's capabilities. But maybe, Alex, does it close the gap between kind of the data teams and the marketing teams, letting the marketers get more information out of the system, handles a little bit more planning, execution, activation for the marketing teams? What do you think, Alex?
I think that there's definitely a case to be made for that. I don't know, to the same way that we discussed prior with agentic marketing, how much people are going to replace their existing workflows with this. Typically, by having this super agent type of structure, you're using it as an orchestration method. So you're assigning tasks to these other sub agents. So if you compare that to the other company, Cordial, where they had two specific agents, one for the email production, one for data analysis and data intelligence, it's just sort of connecting those two. But I don't think that the use of a orchestrator changes the game necessarily until someone's actually comfortable with working with that agent for the entire end-to-end workflow. So I don't know. It's two different approaches to AI. You either have the inexperienced singular agents assigned to a task, Copilot type, where you have an output, you work with it, or you have this more fully agentic vision where you have some process like an orchestrator that can go and do every part of the cycle. So I don't currently think that we're there. I don't think that agents are at the point where they can do everything, but I think that it's an interesting approach that you should certainly keep an eye on with time.
Ken, what do you think?
Hit me more like a Dear Santa letter. So I think that there's a lot of things that would be nice to have.
I like that. That's a good one.
But
It's a little late in
would
the
I
year,
trust
isn't
it?
it?
No. I'm definitely of the, you better show me, because a lot of this is going to be driven by data. Where is that data coming from?
Yeah.
And if it's just coming from the organization that is, going to consume the product, I'm just not sold.
Yeah.
There's a pretty high bar here to cross in order to demonstrate that this really has legs.
Yeah.
Thomas, what do
So
you think?
what are they? They are, well, basically are marketing CDP, right? Which is a contradiction in itself in my eyes. But I needed to chuckle a little when I read statements like the enterprise AI that operates like a marketing department, that created a vision, an image in my, not a vision, but an image in my head, like, okay, so they are replacing the whole marketing department. Yeah. So yeah, right. Yeah. So this is maybe more than a few months away from really becoming place, especially if they are then using examples like, hey, turn this brief into a campaign plan. Heck, take this brief as a document, open up your $20 ChatGPT license, and give this as a prompt. And guess what happens? You're getting a campaign plan. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, there's vision in the bad sense, probably in there. The type of vision that should be treated at the doctors that they're expressing here. Because there's nothing substantiating it. The examples that they are having, that they are giving are, well, many, many steps behind what they are postulating there. So they should do a reality check, I think.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll keep our eyes on it.
Yeah.
Sam, what do you think?
Yeah. So, sorry, you are talking to me?
Oh, yeah. Why don't you let us know, and then we'll go through a wrap up.
Yeah. So I'll make it quick because we are short on time. So in this particular case, I will compare this with Cordial. And I think they were talking about executing the full cycle of marketing. So, and there we were sort of struggling about their position. We were thinking that maybe they are DXP, but maybe they are CDP, because these two are talking about very similar things. And you want to make sure that you are not going to be behind. Okay. If one says full cycle of marketing, then I have to say full cycle of marketing as well. That's how marketing is supposed to work. So kudos to them that they have done that. Okay. But overall, from the CDP market perspective, I think CDP is sort of struggling with the identity. We don't know where that is going to be consumed, whether that is going to be part of CMS, whether that is going to be part of data cloud. I don't know. Now they are launching an agent as well. They are doing a little bit of marketing project management all over the place. So I don't know, I mean, where they sort of fit in, but treasure data in general is a very popular CDP as far as my understanding goes. And I don't know which ecosystem they are sort of aligned in, but I like the story.
Okay. Why don't we wrap up? We got about a minute. We have time, a little bit about what you got going next week, Alex, and then we'll go around the horn and wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a couple of
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we got a couple of ROI analyses coming out, mainly focused on some of these new AI capabilities and agents. Everything's been about productivity lately. As a part of ad hoc research, you don't get to explore too many of the long-tailed results, but throughout the year, hopefully we'll start to see some revenue impacts and some actual, business metrics that might show up on the financial forms.
Great. Ken, how you looking next week? Anything going on?
Oh, I got a lot going on, and
Okay.
So some launches, and it's going to be a good week.
Okay, good. Thomas, staying cool.
Staying cool.
warm.
Life is staying warm. Yeah, this is probably more important in the next days in the South Carolinas because somehow they are
Yeah, well, I'm in Virginia. We're supposed to get a snowstorm this weekend, so we're gonna hunker up.
So the life will keep us busy this year. So what I'm looking at and continue to look at actually is how and whether there is a move from hype to realities, means actual value, like what Alex is looking at.
Sounds good. I'm going to pass it to Sam to wrap up, and we're good.
Yeah, so for the next 2 weeks, I guess I'm going to wait for the game and go Seahawks. And I cannot tell, Robert, you're rooting for Seahawks or, Washington, I guess, right? You got two there. So sometimes it's hard to find, right? Okay, so you're rooting for Seahawks. Okay.
Yeah, I like Seahawks.
Yeah, so guys, that's a wrap. We meet every Friday, sometimes on Thursday, just in cases of exceptions. So today we met on Thursday. I'll see you on Friday next week. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in.
See you. Bye.